Up-and-coming Memphis rapper CMoney, whose real name was Courtney Smith, was known on the streets and in the city's underground music scene as one half of the rap duo FastCash Boys, a name that had become increasingly familiar to those who followed the vibrant, gritty, and unfiltered world of Southern hip-hop. He was only 25 years old. Young, hungry, talented, a life full of potential not yet fully realized. But on Sunday night, in the very city that shaped him, that raised him, and that fueled his art, his life was cut short in a hail of bullets. It was a warm August evening in Memphis, the kind of night where the air felt heavy, thick with humidity, and neighbors were winding down after a long weekend. In a quiet residential neighborhood, the kind of place where kids ride their bikes until the streetlights come on and older folks sit on porches to catch the slightest breeze, a sudden eruption of violence shattered the peace. Multiple shots rang out, the sound cutting through the stillness like tearing paper, only sharper, deadlier. By the time the chaos subsided, several homes bore the marks of the gunfire, shattered windows, bullet holes in siding, and the lingering smell of gunpowder hanging in the air. People peeked from behind curtains, their faces pale, their hands shaking. They knew what had happened. And they knew who it had happened to. One local resident later spoke to W, still visibly shaken, her voice wavering as she tried to process the violence that had unfolded so close to her front door. "From what I hear, this has been going on since last Friday," she said, the disbelief heavy in her tone. "They've been back and forth shooting at each other, whoever they are. Any other time, this is a very quiet neighborhood. This street is very quiet. I have great neighbors, we all look out for each other. Those people who came to do that, that's what they do, and it's not indicative of this community." Her words painted a picture of two worlds colliding, the ordinary calm of everyday life and the sudden, terrifying chaos of an ongoing feud. What exactly sparked this feud remains unclear. Police have not released many details, and the investigation is ongoing. But in the streets, rumors move faster than official statements. Some whispered that it was about money. Others said it was personal. Still others claimed it was just another chapter in a cycle of retaliation that had been building quietly, boiling over in bursts of violence. Whatever the cause, the effect was irreversible. CMoney was gone. For those who knew him, the news was devastating, not just because a young man had been killed, but because of the person he was and the life he was building. CMoney wasn't just a rapper chasing clout. He wasn't just another name in the endless churn of up-and-coming artists trying to break through. He had a vision, a voice, and a story. Alongside fellow rapper FastCash Jizzle, he had formed FastCash Boys, a duo whose music captured the reality of Memphis life with unflinching honesty. They rapped about the hustle, the grind, the good days, and the bad. It was music rooted in truth, the kind of truth you can't fake because it's been lived. Jizzle was one of the first to break his silence after the news spread. Taking to Instagram, he poured his grief into words that were raw and unpolished, just like their music. "Damn lil bra, we wasn't finish. We still ain't stopping dough, you did every tang you could, just had the streets and the ladies on lock. I already know what you want me to do. We got it from here," he wrote, sharing a series of pictures of the two of them together, moments frozen in time, in the studio, on stage, in the streets where they first dreamed up their future. Just weeks earlier, they had opened for Glorilla at her Glow Bash in July, performing for a crowd that cheered like they already knew these two were going places. To lose someone so soon after such a high, that's the cruel irony of it all. One moment, you're standing under the hot stage lights, adrenaline pumping, hearing your own lyrics echo back to you from hundreds of voices in the crowd. The next, you're a headline, a memory, a picture on someone's feed with the caption, "Rest in peace." It's a whiplash that never makes sense. But CMoney's legacy wasn't just music. The heart of it all, he was a father, a son, a friend, someone who laughed loud, who loved deeply, and who carried the weight of his responsibilities with quiet pride. His girlfriend, Kia Smith, took it upon herself to start a GoFundMe page in the days after his passing. The message she wrote for the campaign spoke volumes, not just about the man he was, but about the void he left behind. CMoney Smith was more than just a rapper. He was a loving father, a loyal friend, and an inspiration to many. Through his music, he told the stories of his life, his struggles, and his dreams, touching the hearts of everyone who listened. His passion for his craft and his dedication to his children were unmatched. Now, his children are left to face a world without their dad, and we are coming together as a community to lift them up during this unimaginable time. The fundraiser was more than just a way to cover expenses. It became a gathering point for grief. People donated not only money but words, leaving comments filled with memories, prayers, and promises to keep his name alive. Some were fans who had never met him, but whose lives had been touched by his music. Others were childhood friends who remembered him before the fame, before the stage name, back when he was just Courtney, a kid with big dreams and a bigger heart. In Memphis, the music scene has always been intertwined with the city's struggles. Great artists have emerged from neighborhoods that outsiders often overlook, their voices carrying the weight of experience and the hope for something better. But the streets can be unforgiving, and talent isn't always enough to escape their pull. CMoney knew this. It was in his lyrics and the stories he told. He had lived through things most people only see in headlines or movies. And yet, he was determined to carve out a different future, for himself, for his children, for the people who believed in him. The night of the shooting, after the sirens faded and the police tape went up, a heavy silence settled over the neighborhood. It was the kind of silence that holds 1,000 unspoken things: fear, anger, grief, resignation. Neighbors huddled in small groups, talking in low voices, glancing over their shoulders. Parents kept their kids close. Everyone knew that this kind of violence leaves scars that don't always show. The bullet holes can be patched. The glass can be replaced. But the sense of safety, that's harder to rebuild. CMoney's story is one of too many in a city where the line between promise and tragedy is razor thin. But it's also a story that people refuse to let end here. His friends, his family, his fans, they're holding on to the music, the memories, the moments that made him who he was. They're determined that his name won't just be another entry on a list of young artists gone too soon. They're speaking about him in present tense because in their hearts he's still here, in the beats, in the verses, in the laughter that echoes when they tell stories about him. The investigation will continue. There may be arrests, there may be trials. The feud that sparked this may burn out or it may simmer, waiting for the next spark. But in the meantime, there's a community in Memphis trying to hold on to the good, to remember the young man who brought energy to every room he walked into, who made people believe that he could and would make it big. Well guys, what are your thoughts? Do tell us in comment section below. Thanks for watching.